Thanks, Monica. All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I think this is actually one of the largest we've had so far for our summer series. We're currently at 238, so this is awesome. Like Tony was saying, is if we are going to be recording this, but if anybody has questions, we will make sure to have Q&A at the end. And if anybody, because I know some of you will have the capability to take yourselves off mute and just ask questions in real time, but if anybody can't do that for some reason, please drop your questions in chat. Monica, Ali, and myself will be trying to watch that so that we will make sure that the speakers get your questions. And just for sake of time, I'm sure that there's going to be some questions we can't get to, but again, we'll make sure to send links and follow-up emails and things afterwards too for anything that may be mentioned to help you guys out. So just to start, my name is Nikki Caboose. I'm the VP of Development for Palm Beach Tech. And as you've seen probably on the screens, there's a couple people here helping me. Ali, our summer intern, who's actually was the main person in charge of putting all this together. So I'm gonna have her tell you guys a little bit about the series. And then Monica, she's helping with the technical piece this morning as well. She helps a lot with our events. And I think Joe is on here as well. He's our CEO and president of Palm Beach Tech also. So to give you guys a little bit of an overview of what Palm Beach Tech is, basically we're a tech nonprofit. We started almost exactly 5 years ago. We'll have our 5th year anniversary party actually this month on the 29th. And we started in Palm Beach County, but recently made the announcement that we're going to be expanding and to become a South Florida, a regional organization. So hopefully that way we can touch more people and bring people more together for the tech initiatives that we have going on. And you know, our whole goal and mission as an organization is to build South Florida into a tech hub. So we do work a lot with obviously the school districts, our universities, colleges, coding schools, a lot of the headquartered companies here, which is a few of the companies are our speakers today, and just bringing our whole community together, helping connect the dots and connecting the people so that hopefully when our high schoolers, you know, go to college and the college students come out, that they actually stay here for job opportunities and can help build our tech community. I want to, before we introduce the speakers, I'd like to introduce Ali Costa. She's actually, like I said, our summer intern that helped put together this whole series, and have her actually talk a little bit about what the series is and maybe even some of the future ones coming up for you guys that are anybody that's interested.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ali. Before I get into that, I would love to give our partners the opportunity to just say a few words. So Tony with Palm Beach County School District, if you have anything, you can go ahead.
Hey, thanks, Ali. Just want to say thanks to our business partners here at Palm Beach Tech. You know, as we start to build this roadmap for teaching remotely and learning remotely, you know, what better opportunity than to tap into the expertise of our local business partners, experts in the industry. So just happy to be part of this. You know, thank you for helping us cultivate this partnership, and looking forward to a great event here today.
Thank you, Tony. All right, Lita from Path to College.
Hi, everybody. My name's Lita, Path to College. Yeah. We are a local nonprofit in the Palm Beach County area, and we help low-income but high-achieving students. We're actually in the process of recruiting for our next academic school year, and we're grateful for our relationship with Palm Beach Tech and the school district of Palm Beach County. And yeah, really excited for this workshop and series. Yeah, if you know of any students that are looking that might meet the criteria, pathtocollege.org is our website, and we're in the process of rolling out our open house and recruitment efforts. So thank you.
Yeah, you should definitely check that out. But I don't know if I see Lisa on here, but our other partner is Broward County Public Schools. So, all right, so just a little background on the summer series. In 2018, Code Palm Beach was established as Palm Beach Tech's effort to introduce K-12 students to computer coding and technology. Our mission to build South Florida into a tech hub includes our next generation of techies. We create a positive environment that promotes tech, coding, engineering, and robotics education. This summer webinar series is geared towards current high school students, those who have recently graduated, and their teachers. We not only want to expose children to STEM at an early age, but help nurture and support the love of STEM by keeping them engaged through high school and into college. During our webinar today, Best Practices for Learning Remotely, we will gain insight from tech professionals about basic tools to keep organized, different communication techniques, and other productivity hacks. Our speakers this morning are Raina, the Principal Consultant at Improving, Scott Townsend, the VP of Sales at PeakActivity, and Cathy Miron, the President and CEO of eSilo. Nikki, if I could turn it back to you to get the conversation started.
Sure, of course. So before we get into the actual QA, I'd like to have each of our speakers just tell us a little bit about yourself, name the company that you're with, and the role that you hold at your company. And I guess I'm just going to go with what's on my screen. Audie, if you'd like to start.
Awesome. Good morning, everybody. My name is Audie, and I am a principal consultant for Improving. We are a consultancy company. We are about 700 people across the nation, and our focus is Microsoft technologies. Personally, I have 2 kids at the Palm Beach County School District at South Olive Elementary, and I'm also the chair for the South Olive Elementary Advisory Committee. So that's something else I do there, trying to help Principal Springman Herrera. It's nice to have this opportunity to talk to you.
Thank you, Audie, and I love the background as normal. If I could have, let's see who I have next. Scott is next on my screen.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Scott Townsend, Vice President at PeakActivity. We're a digital marketing and technology solutions firm. I'm excited to be on this panelist. Nikki and Ali, Monica, thank you so much for the opportunity and look forward to having this discussion.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Like your background too, repping the company. Cathy, I have you next.
Hey everyone, Cathy Miron. I'm the CEO of eSilo. We're a data protection and data backup company based in Jupiter. I'm on the board of Palm Beach Tech, and I also head the talent peer group, Talent and Culture. And I have 2 children. My oldest is a 5-year-old, and she'll be going into kindergarten for the first time at Timber Trace Elementary here in Palm Beach Gardens. So it's a very exciting time and a topic really near and dear to my heart.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Cathy. And same to you. Love the backgrounds. I get jealous of everybody's backgrounds because I can't do it from my computer. So I wanted to start out going right direct into, the Q&A. And like I said, anybody that's listening here on Zoom, or if you guys are watching on social as well, Ali and Monica are helping by watching on social. So if anybody has comments or questions there, we'll try to get them out to the speakers as well. But I wanted to start out just so the audience has a little bit of understanding so prior to COVID, what was your level of experience working remotely yourself or like with remote teams at your organization?
I'll start out. Thankfully, we are very remote. My clients are in Minnesota and California, and my wife is in the Army, so we have moved around a lot, and that has kind of allowed me to be remote for pretty much the last 10 years. So it was for our company, I think the biggest impact was, relationships are generally made walking the halls and meeting people and maybe going for lunch or dinner and stuff like that. And that was the biggest impact for us. But as far as the actual work and the day-to-day work, it was minimal impact because in IT, generally you can be remote and be okay.
And I'll chime in. So our company, eSilo, we're fairly small, and we've been remote, 100% remote for the last year. So we had already kind of adapted to remote work for exactly the same reasons that Audie said. Although for us, we've probably had a slightly different story when it comes to productivity and things since COVID-19, just because we all have our home offices and kind of our process and kind of how we get into the right mindset and focus and do things. But now we've got children at home, spouses at home. And so it's been a little bit of a disruption from that point of view. But I've been entirely remote for the last 4 years, ever since I moved to Florida. And at my previous company, even though I worked at GE for 14 years, and even though I was always in headquarters locations, I always worked with global teams. So I was used to managing folks in 10 or 11 different time zones. collaborating across continents. And so for me, remote working is just a normal way of life.
Perfect. And that's why we have you on here today.
And
Scott, did you want to?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to chime in on that as well. So at PeakActivity, you know, being a digital first technology company, most of our team members are used to being remote. We do have a pretty large office that a lot of us would come in on a daily basis. I personally am a come to the office guy, but fortunately we were able to pivot pretty quickly and get everybody, you know, comfortable and situated. Also, we have some great communication tools, and I think that's really important when you're working remote. You have to be engaged with your teams. We have to collaborate. We have to be innovative, and we're constantly doing that in person in the office. But now we're not in the office. We're doing that more over, you know, video conferencing like this.
Perfect. Thank you. And actually, Cathy, you had brought up something that kind of is perfect for my next question. Was you were talking about, even though, you know, all three of you had a lot of experience working remotely already, you alluded to, you know, the difference now with having, you know, husbands or wives in the house and kids in the house, and you have a lot more going on. So even somebody that is used to working remote, it still was a big change. Can each of you give me a little bit of kind of how that's changed for you, both maybe personally and also in working with your teams remotely, even for people that were used to working remote?
Yeah, I can start. I'll tell you that with all of the other folks in the household, I would say scheduling has been one of the trickiest things, and just kind of respecting boundaries. And my kids now know that when I shut the door, I am in the office at work. They pretend that I'm not even in the building like it used to be. So that's been an adjustment, and we've been fortunate enough to have some help too. So we have a nanny that comes, that's been able to come for the last couple of months since we pulled our kids out of school. But I'll say, when I think about my team, you know, a lot of them are taking care of other family members, checking in on neighbors, just doing different things in their daily lives. So it started to make schedules a little bit difficult. So one of the best benefits of having a remote team is you give your employees, or you give your staff, right, a ton of flexibility. But at the same time, that makes coordination and just that cultural connective tissue a lot more difficult. So we've had to be a little bit more rigorous in planning team meetings, planning specific events that are not just focused on day-to-day operational activities, but more just connecting on a human level, because you're missing the water cooler conversations, you're missing seeing somebody in the hallway.
Scott or Audie, did you guys want to add anything there as far as how that may have changed even with you guys after COVID?
I'll start. I mean, so like I said, I have two kids in elementary school. They went virtual, you know, and the teachers here know, you know, that Friday afternoon, you guys don't even know that you guys will be coming back that Monday after. It was tough on the kids. We have a 2-year-old as well. So when I'm at home, the 2-year-old obviously wants to just hang out, right? I mean, there's, you just can't help that. I know that teachers, especially who have kids in school age, I think it's tougher on teachers than us, because they are trying to train kids, and they have their own kids at home that they have to help as parents. So, exactly. So that is, I think, tougher than me, because I can just kind of tell my coworkers that, hey, I got to move a meeting, right? That's easier to do. And we have had to do that, you know, dogs barking in the back, it's okay. Nobody feels now that that's unprofessional. Kids coming up and literally being on my lap during my meetings, guess what? I'm at home. That's the only option I got. So those things have become better. But again, it's easier for us working in the private world, because we are not having to also, you know, train and teach two sets of people, like, you know, on the computer and at home as well. So that's probably more difficult. But yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll echo what, you know, Audie and Cathy said. So fortunately, my wife has been amazing. I have an 8-year-old and a 2. I have my youngest is actually turning 2 today. So he's entering the terrible 2s, but she's been great when I've been working. It was, if you guys remember, there was a video that circulated a couple years ago. I believe the gentleman was with a bank, I believe UBS, and his kid comes crashing in. And I remember seeing the video, and it looked like he was on a really important call at home. And now I think everybody can relate to that. I certainly know my wife tries to keep the kids out of the room when I'm on calls, but it happens, right? And you just kind of laugh about it, and everybody's in the same situation. It's just, you just kind of laugh it off. But
yes, I think you're very right. And I think I know exactly what video you're talking about, because I think, back in the day when it all came out, we were like, oh my God, poor guy. Like,
right.
And it was something that was hilarious. And now we're like, oh man, I feel your pain. Like, I get it.
Now we all can relate, I think so.
Exactly. And actually, I forgot until all of you just said it. All of you have young ones at home. So yeah, I think we all feel each other's pain here. So I did want to go, because I did see a few questions in chat here already. And I wanted to make sure to get these out there to you guys. We did have a question, I guess this could be for all of you, but it was addressed to Cathy, was how did your kids respond to online tutoring when the school district went live with remote?
We were super, super fortunate in that the woman who comes to help us has a kindergartner as well. And so they got to do online classes together. They totally understand Zoom. They know how to mute themselves. They know how to open and close the privacy screen on the camera. They were really, really good about the assignments and the activities. And I think they kept things like show and tell and just fun social activities with the class. But there was, of course, a lot of homework that happened offline. So my kindergartner totally understood it, and I think she'll be way more of a digital native than any of us ever were. And I like to think that, having been in technology my whole career, I'm pretty good, but she's starting to come up there. My 3-year-old, though, had zero interest. You couldn't get him to sit in front of the computer for longer than 30 seconds. So I think at different ages, and especially the really young ones, it's challenging.
Yeah, I think Audie and Scott, yours, did either one of yours have to do any virtual learning, anything? Because I know they're pretty young.
Yeah. We Scott.
Yeah, so my oldest was in 2nd grade, so
okay,
pretty much for the last few months of the school year, it was all remote learning, and I'll tell you what, to my wife and all the other moms and dads out there, they should be on this panel, right? They were the ones that were really, really understand what remote learning is all about. But it was an adjustment for him. I think his school did a great job at mixing it up, right? It's really hard to get a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old to sit in front of a computer screen for 6-7 hours. So there was a lot of cool, interactive, tangible things and assignments that his school gave him, not just sitting in front of the computer learning, but gaining information and then gaining direction from his teachers via the computer, and then going to do cool special projects, whether it be outside or experiments that you can do with household items. I think was really, it helped him with attention span and helped him be engaged and continue to learn. So I think that was important.
Yeah, and
very good.
For us, it was, the kids have different personalities. Our 4th grader knew right away that other than her live share time, like live screen time, she could technically wake up at 7:30 and get her assignments done and be done by 10, right? Like she knew that, oh, sweet, then I have the rest of the day. Versus my 1st grader, who was much more, we kind of had to keep a schedule for him. We had to say, no, it's 8 o'clock. Let's log on. Let's check your to-do list on Google Meet or Google, and let's figure out what's next. So it kind of depends on the personalities as well.
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to get into some of these, direct questions and how some of your skills, both with, working remotely, but then also having kids at home who are, obviously using these platforms with the schools, how that directly correlates to the teachers. The first question I do want to ask is just about communication. So we keep hearing, that there's now in this remote world, there's like a need to over communicate. Whoever wants to take the question, if you guys want to explain maybe what that means and how that's changed for you guys, that maybe can correlate to the teachers, because obviously explaining something in person is much different than doing something remotely.
So I'll jump in first on this one, and I think what's important is still having that live factor. You know, when you're face to face, that in-person interaction, it's very effective, and it's a great way to obtain information and to keep your attention on whatever the task is at hand. So with all the different technologies that are out there these days, whether it's Zoom or Google Meets or Microsoft Teams, we can still have that face-to-face interaction, and I think that's really most important. And not losing that, still turning your camera on, even though sometimes it's uncomfortable or you really don't want to, but just having that face-to-face and that live interaction is extremely important.
I agree.
I'd echo that by saying on the camera comment, for as much as it's uncomfortable, it forces everybody to pay that much more attention and to treat the conversation as if you were in person sitting in front of somebody. And I think, it's so easy to be distracted and want to maybe check an email when you're on a call or in a meeting or in a training or something like that. And so I've asked that of my team to be accountable to one another. And that's a responsibility that because, we respect each other, we work well as a team, that this is one of the things we're going to commit to do. So I think that's really important. And then the other thing I would say about communication is there's a lot more written, at least for us. You can have the meetings, the calls, the video calls, but we do a lot more chat now. And we have group chats on different topics and things. So, and we also have one-on-one chat. So it's easier for me to get a hold of somebody in a Google Hangouts, which is what we use, to say, hey, when you have a minute, do you mind doing, this or that, or can you check in with this particular customer? And that's worked really well for us. And then the last thing kind of on the documentation is we use G Suite extensively. So Google Docs, Google Sheets, Google Slides. And even for recurring meetings, what I found really helpful is we'll create kind of a running list in a Google Doc. So, we have a weekly team meeting. So we'll put notes in there. During the week, if I think of something that I either want to add to the agenda or a status update on something we discussed last time, I've asked the team to put the updates in there. So again, if you miss a meeting because something's going on with your kids or schedules, or even just for like memory to remember kind of where things, I have those running lists, and that's worked really, really well for us because it now has become kind of a documentation archive that we can refer back to.
There's also two different types of communications that as you teachers and administrators are going to do, right? One is going to be the communication with parents, and the other one is with three, you guys are wearing awesome 3 hats. You have students, parents, and then just, coworkers, right? I would suggest that we don't really need many emails, but maybe value in those emails, right? One of the things that when everybody got thrown into this March thing and virtual learning, I think everybody took a second to figure out, how do I want parents to really communicate with me? I would suggest that come this fall, send that as almost like, a to-do for the first day. Hey, kids, show this document to your parents and submit it, right, as an assignment, so that this is the way I want you to communicate with me. And that will probably alleviate some of the questions that you're going to get from parents. I will echo what Cathy said, where, with kids, you just have to have repeatable agendas. And you guys do that day in, day out anyways with the kids. The other one will be just with each other. One of the things about value communication is to say, not only communicate your thoughts, but also communicate next steps, and also communicate perhaps who might own those steps and when those steps might be done or need to be done by. That just creates just some clear lines of expectations, which is generally where communication generally breaks, is the expectations for two people are different. So we use Teams versus, because we're a Microsoft shop, and for Teams we have channels set up for different topics, and we will do a stream of thoughts. We'll post articles in there. and we'll keep it within that team and within that channel that says, maybe this channel is about how to use some feature in Google Meets, and everybody who can find an article about that can put some links there so everybody learns from it. So use the technologies you have, Google Hangouts. It could be a document, right? It could be a document that just says tips and tricks. As you find it, share it with your co-workers. That is a way to kind of also build community.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there was actually, some really good points in there that you guys all had mentioned was, I know for me as a parent, I have one that's in elementary and another one that's in middle. So obviously the middle schooler, it was much easier for him to kind of figure things out and find things, but just between the two teachers, and then also obviously my son has multiple, I found that the teachers that, alluding to what Cathy was saying, that used more video, either with their students actually as a classroom environment or even one-on-ones. To give you an example, my son had one teacher where everything was email, everything was sending messages. And so he got confused a lot easily, and there was, couldn't find links to things, and just, it was a lot of confusion, versus there was another teacher who was awesome with sending exact links, to videos or links to Google Sheets, and using the videos a lot, or even recording those if the student wasn't able to get, on that live, classroom session in that moment. But I also think somebody made a comment in chat also, is that the kids love to see us and are happy when they get that quote unquote connection. And like Cathy was saying, even just using the video, showing your face, that does create more of an interaction, keeping their attention. And I found with my personal kids that was actually very important to use the video and making it easier for them to engage in things. I did have another question here, which Audie, I know you kind of mentioned this in your last comment, but what are some of the, I guess, like productivity hacks or tools that are easy techie things for maybe teachers that are not so technical, that they could use to save time or like increase productivity for themselves? Because obviously, like you said, they've got a lot of them, their own kids at home, plus their students and everything else. So maybe what are some easy like techie tips that the teachers could use?
Yeah, and I think one of the things would be give parents the tools to just struggle a little bit, right? Parents will catch up, okay? Some might not, but they will. The number one thing I'll say is that in Google, when you guys use your Google Classrooms, use those recurring meetings, right? So that kids know when the next live session is. Use the to-do list, make it clear that this is my expectations, this is the due date, and a lot of the teachers are already doing that. They've kind of learned that through the March sessions, but just continue using that and use those tricks to just kind of reduce the number of questions that come back at you. Some of it will be parent training that says, by the way, this is my expectations of you. If you don't know how to use Google Meet, here's a link for Google Meet, go look at this so that you can help your own child, right? I know that Palm Beach County School District has provided a lot of stuff for parents as well. Sometimes it's just best to just communicate that out to parents. But that's the goal.
Yeah, I would echo that actually between what Nikki said and what Adi said around I imagine that for each day's kind of lesson plan or each week's lesson plan, you already have your own agenda for here's the topics, here's the assignments. One of the nice things is just take that with the links and share it with the parents so they know and can follow along exactly. You'll have different levels of technology savviness from the parent community, but the more kind of dumbed down and simple you make it as a checklist, like boom, 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 I have to make sure that my child did these 10 assignments today or watched these 10 videos, showed up for these 2 meetings. It makes it a lot more foolproof for everyone to be doing the things that you expect them to do. And then what I would also say is it's okay to assign the parents a little homework, especially in the beginning, like maybe watching certain training videos or making sure that we bring them up to a level of digital fluency that is necessary for them to support the education process.
Exactly. My son's sitting right next to me and he said, "That's smart." He's listening. And actually, I'm checking in chat just too as you guys are talking. So there's a lot of questions too about some of the platforms that are being used. And actually, just to let you guys know, so we have a whole series for the teachers who haven't been a part of the first couple of these, but so I can have Tony send you guys the links to them for anybody that's missed them. Any questions around like the actual virtual conferencing and like video conferencing tools, we had a whole separate webinar on that one. So we'll make sure to get you guys that for any of the questions that are addressing those. Somebody had also mentioned, I guess, some platforms for like recording videos. Are there any platforms that you guys like in addition to Zoom or anything else that maybe you guys could suggest that are really good for, like, I know there's like Lumify that we use. Are there any other ones that you guys know of that's really good for recording videos?
Yeah, I was gonna say Loom. It's the initial account is free, so for your use it would probably be no cost. And what's really nice about it is they can do a video of your face as well as your screen. So the students can see you, see what's on your screen, you can show links, you can click on different things. And that gives people a very interactive way, especially the ones that are less tech savvy, of here's where to go find this, here's how to use this. So I think Loom is fantastic for that.
Yeah, and I see some other in here too. Flipgrid, Screencastify is being mentioned in the comments also.
Yep. And one of the things you're noticing as we are all together on the Zoom, this is another reason we want to make sure that you guys get together, within your teacher groups, because you guys can talk and chat and type in links and etc. and then share that knowledge with each other. So that helps, just kind of, because there's so many tools out there, right? Some are free, some are not. You can always bug Tony because we all love bugging Tony. But yeah.
So I do want to kind of flip the next question to talk about, we've talked a little bit on how to present things and how to organize ourselves. So what about on the student side? I know that was one thing that I had to personally also, just as a parent of a couple of students, is, the teachers are trying to organize themselves and figuring out how to set up their daily workplaces. And do you guys have any tips around how to organize themselves, but then also the students? Because I feel like, with my kids in the beginning, it was kind of like, just get online and check your messages and see what the teachers are sending you. But then I literally had to like come up with like a schedule of like where to check things, when to check things, figuring out which teachers at what times were best for them. Do you have any suggestions as far as like, maybe what the teachers can give to the students on helping the students set up their workspaces and helping the parents, do that with them?
So as far as staying organized, I mean, the way, we do it in business most often is just utilizing your calendar that's connected with whatever your email service provider is. And as far as getting, I think the key too is really and we've touched on it, is the communication with the parents and giving them advanced communication. So maybe a week or two out, really showing them, what's upcoming and what's expected for the students and what they need to be focused on what particular day. I think the more advanced communication you can give, the better. And, instead of just trying to do it the day before, the night before, and trying to send updates kind of last minute, if you can give a little heads up to the parents and to the students, then they can be prepared for that next week.
That's very true.
Some people are mentioning, hey, make sure on the chat about emails, right? Teach the kids where the email, how to get to email. That goes, that's true, right? But it also goes back to the day one kind of thing, right? Where if we have clear communication on parents, we are going to communicate with the kids either on a to-do list, that's where all their assignments are. I might have some things on emails. The more consistent you are, the better response you will most likely get, especially for the younger ones. The older ones, like my fourth grader was on the chat anyways because she wanted to chat with her friends, right? So it was peeling her off of that chat. That was a problem. So it will be, whatever method you choose, just communicate that on your day one, almost like you're sending something back in their folders.
Yeah, and there's actually some good comments in chat here too, is one comment was about using the emails, which I think some of us don't even think too, because I think most of us on the call here have just a couple of kids, but there are parents that have multiple kids at home. So I think when the chat or email is being used, trying to make everything concise in one email, maybe like one weekly email, or one that they get at the beginning of each day, kind of to set up that day. But definitely, like Cathy and Audie were, suggesting, is like having those repeatable schedules, so that emails maybe don't have to be used as much. Because I know somebody else in comment had made the comment about making sure that parents and kids are checking their emails. Depending on the age of the kid, kids aren't used to checking emails. I know my kids, I had to teach them how to even use an email for the first time with this. So just making sure that, obviously if you've got high schoolers, that's more doable, but for the younger ones and for their parents, and like myself, I'm a parent that works full time as well, in addition to trying to be part-time teacher now with the teachers. So it was very hard for some of the teachers that sent multiple emails throughout the day. The ones that sent like one email to kind of start out the day, or even one weekly email, was so much easier for me. And that way I could, kind of like Scott was saying, is prepare for my week. And then obviously if there's something that's super important and the teacher needs to get in touch with me for that one thing, they actually utilize video a lot. And we did a lot of video conferencing, was so much easier. But yeah, I thought that those comments in chat were really important, because I think a lot of repetitive emails throughout the day that are simple little things do get lost, between all of the emails. Cathy, were you going to say something also?
I was going to echo the weekly schedule. So as a parent, if I got something on a Sunday, then I could sit down and plan the week with my kids. And that way, with my husband and I, we could do like one day where maybe we're not actively working and we're actually supporting assignments. So I guess the weekly view gives parents a little more flexibility than a daily view, where we're getting surprised a little bit each day as far as what's expected. The other thing I will say is that the kindergarten teacher for my daughter was texting us. And that was great because, and obviously you guys might get overwhelmed if you're having to text, 20 or 30 parents, but those immediate things where there's something that's pending or they need to speak with us, it was really great to get it in text, because exactly as you said, Nikki, we're bombarded with emails all day long. So that was another thing that we thought was really helpful. But back to your original question for how to get students in the right kind of frame of mind for learning. The other thing that I think is really helpful is we've been talking to them about mindset. So even though you're in a video call, you dress for school, you sit at a desk, you pay attention, your camera's on, all that stuff. So they're treating it as if they were sitting in the room with the rest of the classroom, as opposed to, I've heard stories of high schoolers that are rolling out of bed or still in bed in their pajamas, with a laptop on their belly. And that isn't, I want to use the word professional, but it's not courteous to the rest of the students, and they're not paying attention in a way that they're primed for learning. So I think setting some of those ground rules up front helps set the tone.
Yeah, I agree. And Cathy, you actually, that was perfect segue too, because I was going to go into my next question about is just what is with remote working that can kind of, transfer over to the teachers and the students. What are some of like your best practices, must-haves, like working remote that's different than being in person, that you feel like you have to have, and that are the biggest differentiators in working remotely that obviously the teachers could use as well?
It's funny. So there's a couple things that I use, but I'm not sure if these are tools that are available to you or that you guys would use, but I'll mention it anyways. So there's a tool called Trello, Trello.com. And if you're familiar with the concept of Kanban boards, basically you can have a backlog of activities to do, you can have things that are in progress, things that are done, and it just helps you visually track work. And I just use it for myself sometimes to stay organized. But when collaborating with other team members, I found it really helpful because someone can look at the board and at a glance, it's like a bulletin board. They can see the status of different activities, projects, tasks, and who's owning them. So stuff like that I found to be essential. Plus, I've got a bunch of different to-do lists. Everything syncs to my phone. That cross-platform, cross-device capability is huge, and the beauty of the Google Suite is that you guys natively already get that. So that would just maybe be one thing I would I would encourage you to set up is everything on your tablet or phone. So you don't have to be glued to your desk all day long, and you can still keep on track or on top of things.
And I'd like to chime in here as well. I agree with Cathy, and Trello is a great tool. And I don't know, like for our business, you know, we've been engaging with our clients virtually for a long time now, right? So we use a couple different tools. I feel like we have really good tools, collaborative tools. And so, for instance, we use Slack for real-time communication. And also Slack's a way that we can set up a shared channel to kind of talk in a specific group. And you know, talk with specific clients. We bring in our clients into we build a Slack channel for them. For like video conferencing, we're using Google Meets, we're using Zoom, and that's really, you know, able to share screens, able to talk face to face, and have that ongoing dialogue around projects. And then if we have like high design or like feedback orientated projects, we're using a tool called Basecamp, and it's a really collaborative tool as well. So and we can invite people into Basecamp, and we can all collaborate together, and everything's stored there. So you can go back and look at information. And then for like our technical projects, we manage the work in Jira, and we sync it with a task visualization tool like Trello, which Cathy mentioned. So there's a couple different tools that we're using. I don't know, you know, how compatible they are to the teacher environment, but there's definitely, you know, as we've said, there's so many great options out there. And of course, if there's any way that we can kind of give recommendations, Nikki, to the group here afterwards, you know, we'd be happy to give those recommendations.
Yeah, and it's funny because some of the same tools we use as well. You know, Trello is a big one for us. I think it was actually just yesterday. I'm not sure if it was recorded. I'll have to find out for you, Tony, to see if it's something we can get to the teachers. But our president and CEO, Joe Russo, actually did a talk, I believe it was yesterday, on how we've actually built our whole nonprofit off of Trello and how we've been using that to organize ourselves. So I think that is actually a really cool tool. And I'm sure there's a lot of tools that are similar that can be used to help organize yourself. And we also, Scott, do use a lot of Slack, as you know, too. We do everything through there to communicate. And I know that actually, as you were talking, I was thinking with our last webinar, going back to the video conferencing tools, with all the teachers using like the Google, you know, suite and Google tools. The Google Teams actually has that as well, where you can share documents and create little teams there to communicate with the students and the teachers. So I don't know. Oh yeah, Ali, I see you still on here. Ali, could you, while we're talking, just drop the link to that video conferencing YouTube video just for anybody that's interested, because I know that goes into a lot of that. And somebody had mentioned here also in chat, if I could find it, oh, Tony did, was about having online sessions with small groups of students and not the entire class at the same time. That was actually one of my questions I had on my list too. So that's awesome. Thank you, Tony, because I know that even with my personal kids, again, the whole classroom's all at once. There's 30 kids or sometimes more all on one video. And so they're all asking questions, and you can kind of see the teacher trying to answer questions as they go. And it's similar to what we're doing this morning. There's over 200 people on here, and I know I can't possibly get to all the questions or comments in chat. So sometimes the kids that maybe feel like they don't understand or falling a little bit, you know, behind, or even the shy ones that don't want to speak up or don't want to feel quote unquote dumb in front of the class may not say anything, and then they end up just getting more behind. So I think setting up just that expectation with the parents or students that, hey, if you are having issues, we can hold smaller, you know, little discussions, or maybe even one-on-one. And again, trying to do that through video. Can any of you here, any of the speakers, maybe give us an insight onto if that's, you know, how that's worked with your teams? Like if there's been issues with using, you know, issues with like an employee where you guys have had to do that with smaller teams than just like the whole office or the whole team at once.
So one of the things, I know Tony, I know there was a comment that perhaps you guys will get Zoom, hopefully sometime. One of the things we use as Zoom, Zoom has this breakout session, breakout groups capability. So what you can do in a breakout is that when you have, let's say, 12 people, you can break them into smaller groups, and you can either choose that I want group 1 to be these 4 kids, group 2 to be these 4 kids, or you just let them randomly pick the kids. to put, all the kids in a small group, and then you put a timer on it that says, hey, I want this small group to be 5 minutes, and then it automatically pushes them back into the main section. So I know that, so I'm hearing that we can't use Zoom, and I'm so sorry, because that's one of the big things we use because of that. And somebody.
I think, Audie, though, that for the teachers, since they all have approval for Google, I believe that Google has Hangouts, which is very similar to the breakout rooms with Zoom.
Okay, so I would suggest using those when you guys need to do small teams, and you can then put a timer, and as the host, you can join each group and kind of rotate through them and let them have a discussion, let them talk. Guess what? The younger the kids they are, they're gonna just talk, right? My kid will just talk about Pokemon. That's all he's gonna do. So you gotta give him a task and say, after these 5 minutes, I expect the group to come back to me with something, right? And then again, automatically in 5 minutes later, they all come back to the middle. You don't have to do anything there, or the software will do that. So we kind of use that. We start big, and then we break out, and we come back in.
Mm-hmm. One question, this came up in chat also, which is very good, is how do you get your teams, again, which can correlate to the teachers, to because obviously building a culture and building like that team feel and the classroom feel and getting them to interact with each other is very different in person versus remotely. So how do you guys build your culture? I know that, Audie, we had talked about this before, was celebrations, time together as a team, because those are just as important in building that culture of the classroom, just like work, as it is the actual classroom teachings themselves. So how do you guys use the video tools to actually build culture within the...
So the background you're seeing behind me, it was yesterday, it was somebody's birthday, one of my coworkers' birthday, who loves Legos. So we decided he was turning 40, and we were excited about him turning 40, and we wanted to make some jokes. And so we decided to do a Zoom happy birthday. And if you have never heard people sing happy birthday over one of these software, Google Meet and all that, where nobody really is in sync, it is glorious because it's so horrible. But what we did was everybody brought their own cupcake. We celebrated his 40th birthday, and we changed our backgrounds to be things he liked. He likes Doctor Who. He likes space. So, that's kind of what we did. I also have Doctor Who thing for Doctor Who people. That's kind of what we did. So culture is very, very important. And you have to spend time to do that. You have to spend time to celebrate your coworkers. One of the other things we have done post-COVID, we all, in our company, we created a Spotify playlist. Things like "You Can't Touch This," "Stand Away From Me," like all these songs about COVID. We have kind of made this songs playlist, and it is running in my Spotify all the time, and it just reminds me of my friends and that I can't see every day, right? So you still can build culture even though you're remote.
Yeah, I completely agree with Audie. And one thing we've done as an organization is we've had more frequent company town halls. It's where we get everybody together. Communication's so key, and this is a troubling time for a lot of people, and a challenging time. So keeping the whole team informed on what's going on with the business, and reporting back great news, and highlighting some good wins, and just keeping everybody informed and energized about what we're doing. And then we've also done a few like company get-togethers, to where we've built out some other groups, some little happy hour collaborative kind of events, to where we can just talk, and it's not about what happened today or a specific project. It's just you're having kind of that water cooler talk with your colleagues, and continuing to stay in touch with them, I think, is really important. Communication and that live interaction is really important. And then the more information, the better. And that can certainly echo to the teachers and the students and the parents. It's the more information you can provide, the clearer, as clear as possible, will just help everybody.
Yeah, and I think kind of, what you were saying too, Audie, is just like, you know, I know for me, similar to what we did this morning, it's like everybody's coming on, we give a few, you know, minutes beforehand for everybody to talk and kind of share their days. And I know for the teachers that did that with my kids, it did help a lot, because again, I think it in turn actually helps the teachers to allow the kids to that kind of few minutes in advance to network with each other and talk and kind of get that little water cooler talk out of the way. Because then that way too, I felt like the teachers that did that, the kids were kind of already got that out of the way. They paid more attention when the teacher was actually talking because they kind of already did all that. But then also is the students, because they're so used to, you know, being in a classroom where if they, you know, if the teacher says something and they go, what did the teacher say? What page was that on? Or what's our homework tonight? And they don't have that right now. So like the other students are actually their support if they didn't understand something, if they missed something, they forgot what assignment was due. So because they're in person, they don't have that. They don't have those little water cooler discussions anymore. So I think just allowing the kids that time to kind of talk and network and get out that, you know, energy in the beginning will help, one, make sure they pay attention, but then two, like my son was very good at like, oh, I forgot what the teacher said. I'm going to reach out to this person in my class, and they would just chat with each other to make sure that they got homework or assignments, due dates, whatever it was. But yeah, I think just allowing them, that builds that culture and helps with attention spans and gives them other people to reach out to, so that it's not always the teacher that's overwhelmed with getting a million questions when they could probably ask each other some of that stuff too. There was actually a couple questions in chat that I wanted to address too. Somebody had asked about using Google with like Jamboards and all of that. That's also in the video conferencing webinar. I think that one is actually a really good one that'll answer like a lot of the questions that are coming through chat. They go pretty in depth into the Jamboards and all of that on that webinar. There's also a question about, I don't know if maybe you know this, Cathy, because I know you said you use, I think you said you use Google a lot, is with the Google Hangouts, is there a way that like say the, because I know with the, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony, but that the students aren't able to use the like videos amongst each other, only when the teachers are on there. So is there a way that, like, I guess what's the best way for the kids to communicate with each other through chat? And like, if like, say the teacher is having a video going on, is there a way to make sure that the students are not in there anymore, or that they, you know, aren't in there, like we were saying, playing Fortnite or Pokemon or whatever together?
Yeah. First of all, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because Zoom says my mic isn't working, but okay. Hangouts. So Hangouts does allow you to do one-on-one and group chats, and any one of those chats, there's a button where you can call. So for example, I have my whole team in a group chat, and then when we do team meetings, I just hit the video call button and it calls them all. And then we all get in Brady Bunch style, just like this. And we have, so you can use that, I guess, for breakout rooms, but also for students who are collaborating maybe on a project together. You would suggest them to go create a Hangouts chat all together, and then when they do their sessions, they can.
Perfect, thank you. And there was another question in chat, which I do not know the answer to. Does Google Meet have backgrounds, just like Zoom does? Does anybody know that?
They're working right now, but I saw someone messaged and said that they're coming.
Oh, they're working on it. Okay, perfect.
Not myself, but I know that right now they don't.
There's a
Yeah,
Chrome
'cause I think that
extension.
helps a lot.
There's a
What'd you
Chrome
say, Tony?
extension in the web store, a Chrome extension that that some users, you know, depending on their ability to install things on their machines, of course, can install that works really well with Meet. We use it in our office, but certainly our students wouldn't be able to install any of that. And you know, honestly, we laugh about some of the backgrounds that we see when we get into some Zooms and Meets. I mean, I do all the time. We you know, you get bored in the office, so we have these meetings and someone's got a beach behind them, someone's got a Star Wars theme behind them. But you start to think about, you know, you step back and you look at the macro and you think about the situations that some of our students are in, and teachers as well, with so many things going on in our homes. Sometimes it's nice to be able to either blur the background out or just put a picture back there, because there's a lot of distracting things going on. So you know, apart from it just being fun and cheeky, I think there is a real need for some of our families to be able to do that. I mean, especially, you know, Nikki, you mentioned households where there's 3 children, 4 children in the house. One of my bosses has 5 children, and when I talked with him on the phone earlier this morning, in fact, it was hard for me to hear him because all 5 kids are up and going crazy in the house. It's raining outside. So
Mhm.
there are real practical, pragmatic purposes for a lot of these features. And Cathy, you bring up a good point about Hangouts. It's been very difficult for us to keep up with all the changes with the Google apps, and that's a good thing. Google is trying to meet the needs of the education industry. So some of the things that we're asking for today on this particular webinar may not be available within a couple weeks. We're here in August. There's going to be another rollout of a feature set that be some tools that our teachers can put to use, and we'll have another one of these.
Perfect. Yeah, and I think you had mentioned on the last one too, Tony, is that although I believe right now Zoom is still not approved with the Palm Beach County or Broward County school districts, is that it can still be used with like parents. You can still use it to record, your own, like if you want to record yourself giving a session or something, then sending that link of the video, placing it somewhere. I know you can't use it live with the students, but you can still use it for a lot of things. And a lot of the tools are very similar in Google that you can use, but just so you guys know that, and you can still use it, you just can't use it for live, with the students. I know
That's
we're
correct.
right at time, so I did want to ask a couple questions that were here in chat that were good. So Sarah says, for the panel, what tips do you suggest for the new plan in the fall with the bell-to-bell distance schedule? I'm not even fully aware of exactly what they're doing in the school districts yet, so I didn't know that there was going to be a bell-to-bell schedule, but I'm assuming that there will be some issues with that in the household. Is there anything that you guys can think of as far as some tips for the teachers and students, parents as well with that?
Number one for me is simply that teachers take time for your mental health. You guys are going to be online a lot. I've worked remotely for a long time. It can feel isolated. It can feel like, it's sometimes more tiring than just being in a classroom. And I know it's more tiring. So when you're scheduling your day, take some time for mental health as well. Be it in the morning, be it in the afternoon, whatever that is, definitely take that time. It's some things, you guys are the best audience for this on the scheduling because you guys did this already day in, day out. So keep the schedules, that should help. Continue thinking about culture, right? Have those meetups with just each other and don't talk about work, right? Specifically, don't talk about work. Talk about everything else. Talk about everything else that's, that can kind of help you mentally and keep, the happiness and all that, and keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think to remember too, Audie, that's a good point about the mental health for the teachers, because it is, extremely stressful switching to all of this. And like we said, a lot of, the teachers have their own families and everything in the homes as well. I think the students feel the same way. I actually, it was a completely mind-blowing to me and it was not expected, but I actually thought that my middle schooler would be able to handle it much easier than the younger one, because I'm thinking just attention spans and capabilities and her understanding with like using the technical tools. I actually had a much harder time with my middle schooler because I think he's so used to the day-to-day interaction that he hates the remote learning. So there was one teacher in particular that which somebody actually mentioned in comments too, which I really liked, is just remembering to take time for, we were talking about that culture building, letting the students network with each other. Somebody in chat mentioned even having show and tell, let the kids talk about something that's going on in the home or what they've learned on the last lesson or anything like that to get them engaged and maybe not thinking directly about like what's due that day all the time. Because I do think that is very stressful. I know that we had some tears in our household and that came from the older one, not the younger one. So just, remembering that the students can be just as stressed as the teachers and the parents through all this as well. Did Cathy or Scott, did you guys have anything to add to that? Okay.
Well said.
And I don't know, Tony, is there any comments that you wanted to make? Because I know you've been helping in the chat, so thank you with answering some of these questions, but is there any like last minute words you wanted to leave with the teachers just about this session or where they can find additional resources or future talks?
Yeah, thanks, Nikki. I'll keep it short because we're over time here. Yeah, it's really impossible to cover everything in a 60-minute chunk, which is why the district came up with this plan to roll out all of this summer PD here for our teachers and administrators and even parents, just to help us get ready for August 31st, which is going to be the day that everybody starts teaching and all this stuff actually starts moving forward with our teachers and students. So I put it in the chat window. My email address is in there. Folks, if you have questions about anything, training related, Google related, Zoom related, just email me. I'm happy to either answer your question or point you in the right direction. I'm not the most knowledgeable guy in the world, but I probably do know who to contact for you. We would really like to make sure that all of our teachers and students are ready for August 31st. Our department's doing everything that we can. One of the things that you all saw in the chat window was reference to the Edtech Department. They completely switched gears in early April, and they've been doing nothing but trainings since April 1st. I'd be happy to get you in touch with them and show you their schedule of things that they've done and they've taped. They've got a YouTube channel with hundreds of videos on it as well to help you if you're one of those beginners that really needs to start from scratch with a product like Google Meet, for instance. So look, we're here to help. This meeting might be ending now, but certainly the assistance will continue on until August 31st. So while I still have the microphone on, I just want to say thank you to our panel. And man, it's so good to have input from local industry that prevents us from working in a vacuum, certainly.
Thank you, Tony. And just to close it out, I did, because I thought these were important, is Tony had put also in the comments there that the multicultural department is putting videos together in multiple languages for families that speak languages other than English, obviously, because I saw a few questions about that. And then also there are capabilities in Zoom and also in the Google Meets for like subtitles for anybody that's hearing impaired or ELS. So there are resources for that. Again, if anybody needs any assistance, please reach out to myself, to Tony, and we can make sure to send you guys some links on where to find those resources or to help everybody. But I did, again, same thing, I echo Tony. Thank you everybody for coming on this morning, for all the speakers, Allie for putting the series together. And we will be sending some follow-up emails to everybody just to make sure that everybody knows where to find information and who to contact. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, teachers, for teaching our kids.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, teachers.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you. Can you keep the chat open? I'm still reading all the messages and information.
Because this is live, we are going to have to close it, but we can send the chat to you afterwards.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.